Come on. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Come on.
Very good morning. Welcome inside the Joe Rose Show, minus the big dog Joe Rose. He will be with us later on in the program today. I'm Hollywood. Donno is with us as we get set for Dolphins and Bills. Thank you to Marcos there on the update. Marcos driving the program here today. It's a pleasure to be working with you, by the way, Marcos.
No. The pleasure is mine. Look at you, handsome gentlemen.
We're trying, and Jamie's got us up here on the YouTube stream as well. Jamie is with us here this morning, so a lot of stuff, obviously, to get to here today, and we will have Joe join us later on in the program. Omar Kelly will join us from Buffalo as guys. I guess it has must-win vibes here tonight for the Miami Dolphins, as this could be it. Right.
I mean, I really felt that Hollywood, I felt that the must win was really the game last week at home against New England. But I guess losing that one makes this one even more of a must win. But you're in a situation where you got to go into the hometown of one of the best teams in the NFL on a short week, which usually doesn't work out well for the road team playing Thursday night football, and expect all the miscues that the Dolphins have had so far this year, personnel issues on that offensive line, that you're going to be able to fix everything tonight to what would be, I guess, a double-digit upset if the Dolphins could pull it off. But you know what? If they do pull it off, I'm going to believe that this team has an extra gear. Assuming they don't, we're going to start looking at a lot of people's jobs and whether they're going to have them a couple days after this one.
Yeah, it feels like the kind of game, Donno. I'm curious what you think. Like, I need to see guys respond to Mike McDaniel tonight. Right, they need to fight for this guy, and if this team throws in the towel and they go out there and they get crushed, right? Something like that happens. If you're going to make a change, this is probably the time to do it. Right after Thursday night football, you have a little extra time going into Monday night football, so you have the extra days here. So if you were going to do something, I guess this would be the time. Again, not at 0-3, not that any shakeup is probably going to matter at this point, but if the guys don't look like they are responding tonight, that to me is kind of thing I'm going to look for. I think it'd be very unlikely that the Dolphins will go in there and win this game outright. I think a lot of things would have to break in their favor. I just don't know what the recipe, like I'm looking at both teams, and I've seen both teams play, Donno, and I just don't know what the Dolphins can do in this game tonight. Like if you were like, what are the keys to victory for the Dolphins? I don't know that you could even come up with any at this point.
I don't think the Dolphins have any identity. It's fair to say 2 games into the season. And I felt that way even a lot of last year, where they fell short of the playoffs because, 2 seasons ago, I didn't love the identity because I prefer the identity to be, physical up front. Those are the teams that usually win Super Bowls. But the Dolphins' identity used to be, hey, our offense is a track team. Our quarterback is super accurate and has a really quick release, and we can score 2 plays, 80 yards, 30-second long drive at any point in a football game. They lost a little bit of that last year. I think they tried to make their identity, hey, we're going to bring some of that back on offense. Plus, we've got a lot of big-name pass rushers. Pass rush hasn't consistently shown up so far this season, so that's not their identity. The whole track team offense thing hasn't been their identity this year either, because Tua looks completely off. I was reading the column I think Barry Jackson wrote about Kurt Warner breaking down Tua, where he's not seeing the whole field. He's throwing to the wrong side of the field. A lot of these miscues, a lot of it is scheme-based and stuff. Like, I don't know. I mean, you've had the same head coach who's calling your plays for the past several years now, was the same guy who was calling those plays 2 years ago when the offense was working. It's no longer working. So the Dolphins right now, you're right, Hollywood. If I'm trying to figure out how they beat Buffalo tonight, I can't come up with a path to victory. I guess the only path to victory would be the Bills just take you so lightly. They take their foot off the gas, or, Josh Allen maybe has one of those games where he tries to do too much and has a couple of really costly turnovers. I mean, we've seen that happen a few times throughout his career, that sometimes he's going to, have those games where he tries to run for the extra first down and he fumbles or he throws an interception. I think the Dolphins are really going to have to hope that the Bills give it to him a little bit tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. I don't see Josh Allen as that type of guy who's going to come into a game and take a division opponent lightly, especially after what they did to the Jets last week. But
yeah,
it is funny, by the way. I tell you, I am on like a thread of a big vicious Twitter argument right now. People are just still this debate over Tua, and it's like, well, if he had an offensive line, if he had better coaching and all this, and this, he would be, he'd be great. And like, I've personally seen enough, but look, I hope that the guy goes out and has a great game tonight. I hope the Dolphins win this game, because 0-3 is not fun. It's not fun for anyone. It's not good for business. It's just overall bad, Donno. We need some sort of relevancy here, and the Dolphins are on the cusp of being very, very irrelevant right now to start this season, and it's just so frustrating, right? Because you go into a season, I didn't have hope. I don't want to say I had hope going into this year, but at least you thought like they would be competitive, right? I mean, that was the thought. I didn't think that they would be a good football team, because, you have to do simple math, right? And you look at the roster from last year and, going into last season, and it looked like, hey, they lost some names. They lost some guys. This roster's not going to be as good. Then you look at the roster this year, you go, wow, they lost some guys as recent as like up until, a few weeks before the season. They're losing guys who you could consider some of their best players. So I didn't have some sort of like vision that this was going to be, a 12-win team or something like that. But at least you thought they'd be competitive, and they were more competitive against the Patriots, no question. I will tell you, sitting here at 1-1 would have felt a whole heck of a lot better than sitting here at 0-2 going into this game tonight against the Bills. So you're in a situation right now where there's just no hope, there's no direction, and there's no vision, right? You talk about what they're good at, Donno, what they do well, what their identity is. We spent the whole offseason talking about that. And the problem is that your GM just has no vision, right? It's like, let's just, assemble this group of guys and hope for the best, but there's just no vision. It's like what you want to do well, where you want to be, strong at. And that's the issue right now, is that they just don't do anything particularly well.
And everyone, of course, is speculating on not really if, but when Mike McDaniel's going to get fired. I mean, he's shot to the top of the odds list on the first NFL head coach to get fired. People are just anticipating, is it going to happen? Like you mentioned, Dolphins have a long gap between games after tonight, 11 days before Monday nighter against the Jets. Dolphins bye week isn't until, I think, week 12. So that would be, if you were going to wait that long, if you're waiting for like, an extra week, that'd be a long time to wait to get this done. But you brought up a fair point on the GM. Clearly, like, Chris Greer is someone that Stephen Ross has worked with for a very, very long time. And it really seems like Ross, who is a loyal guy, like, for whatever reason, he really seems to trust Chris. But this is someone who's been the GM of this team for 10 years. He's been with the organization for 25 years. Like, how many different opportunities are you going to give the same general manager
20
to hire your next head coach, or to select your next franchise quarterback, when he's already seemingly failed at both of those things multiple times? All right. So I think with everyone wondering when the hammer's going to come down on Mike McDaniel, I think the bigger question is, who's going to be the GM who hires Mike McDaniel's replacement? Like, how many times is the same GM going to be allowed to hire the wrong head coach and then lead up the next search for the guy to replace that head coach? So, and if you guys all know, we've all followed the Stephen Ross tenure as owner of the Dolphins. He tends to, either fire a coach and keep a GM, or fire a GM and keep the same coach. It's been a lot of half measures, right, over the last, 15 plus years. I mean, at some point, if you really want to do a rebuild right, I think you need to bring in a whole new front office and do full measures instead of half measures.
Well, here's the frustrating part too, is like we're in week 3 and we're talking about, who the next quarterback is going to be, who's the next coach going to be, and it sucks, man. We waited a year. You waited a whole year to get to the season, and you barely got out of week 1, and we're talking about, this whole thing not working, and goes back to vision, man. I don't know what they see in training camp. I don't know what they saw in mini camps and all the, OTA, all this different stuff. I don't know what they're seeing that they have this vision that it's going to work. I have no idea what they've sold Mr. Ross on as to why this will work, but that's the frustrating part of bringing all these guys back. Like at some point, you do have to rip the Band-Aid off and say like it didn't work, right? And you know, Coach Mr. Ross wants to bring all these guys back. He has the written letter that hey, we like the working relationship between Mike and Chris, and we want the consistency. Oh my gosh, we have it up on the screen. Jamie's got that darn letter up on the screen here. I mean, look, again, at some point you do have to rip the Band-Aid off. I don't know when that's going to be at this point. Maybe, just maybe, they play a little bit better tonight. We'll have Joe on later, and I'm sure he'll try to sell us on, that they're gonna play better because that's what he does. And a lot of Dolphin fans are with that, man. They're like, hey, maybe this is the week, this is the one, this is the game where they play a little bit better. And I guess we're at the point where we have to take moral victories, right? If we cover the spread tonight, is that a moral victory?
Yeah, 11.5 is that number, by the way. So maybe we could. I think the last time we played Buffalo or in Buffalo, it came down to a field goal. So hey, maybe we cover.
But anyway, Joe will join us later on in the show today. We're gonna have Omar Kelly with us as well. Omar is turned, by the way. Omar is not. He doesn't have any Tua numbers to feed us here this morning. So Omar has turned a little bit as well. And we just have a lot to get to. So if you want to jump in with us here, you can shoot us a text 305-567-0560. We got our chat going up on the video stream here this morning as well. So we have that, and then Donno, we got a game coming up on Saturday night. Now that let's talk about getting excited for something, okay? The Dolphins is what it is, right, at this point. But this Hurricanes and Gators game on Saturday night, people are starting to get jacked for this one. It'll be a sold-out Hard Rock Stadium. Game day is going to be on campus in Coral Gables. Doesn't get a whole heck of a lot better than this one. And boy, the Gators are coming in here essentially with the same situation that the Dolphins are in, right? I mean, they are in a situation where they desperately need a win to turn around their season and perhaps to save their coach.
And the players seem to want to fight for Billy. I mean, I know that a lot of Gator fans, I'm not saying they don't want their team to win this Saturday. Sure they do, because they don't want Miami to have any bragging rights. But I think in the back of their minds, they're like, okay, we want to win the game, but if we don't, that means Billy might get fired before the next game is the mindset. But I do think the players are going to try to fight for him. But watching, I've always had one eye on the Gators so far this year, knowing, we're going to see them this weekend. Miami is, and in a lot of ways, the team is a mess when it comes to organizational stuff and execution. Been a ton of self-inflicted wounds. And I think that's why Miami's only favored by about a touchdown, Hollywood. It's a 7.5-point spread the last I checked. Just based on, Miami's results, Florida's results, people thought this one would be a double-digit type of spread. But I think that the handicappers see that, hey, like Florida is a lot more talented than what they've shown, because whether it's 5 interceptions in a game by Lagway or those back-breaking penalties against USF, like Florida should be, probably a 2-1 team conservatively, not a 1-2 team at this point. But with that said, it's like Florida has not been able to get out of their own way. And unfortunately for them, Caleb Banks, elite defensive lineman, is going to miss this game. He returned against LSU, I think re-injured the foot. Florida's running backs coach got suspended by the SEC 3 games for like hitting an LSU player before that game started, which is just a crazy kind of thing to happen to them. And then meanwhile, Miami's been rolling so far, Hollywood. I mean, really very few complaints as to what Miami's put on film so far. Lines of scrimmage have been as good as you would expect on the offensive line, probably a little bit better than we expected on the defensive line, because Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor have been unblockable to this point. Carson Beck looks so comfortable with Miami, and Miami had to replace all those receivers from last year. This group might be better. I mean, if you see what Malachi Toney's provided at 17 years old, CJ Daniels is making ridiculous catches every single week. Josh Moore stepped up. We still haven't really seen JoJo Trader yet, who's supposedly going to be back this week. So it's a lot of stuff working for Miami. But with that said, I'm not going to claim I'm not a little bit nervous about this, because, again, if this is the game that Florida gets up for, because if they play to their talent level, Florida and Miami are pretty close. I think Miami's got most of the edges, but like Florida, comparable in talent a lot more than South Florida was to Miami. If things go right for Florida, it could look a little bit more like the Notre Dame game. So I think that's what everyone is wondering, if this is the week that the Gators kind of put it together and put their mistakes aside.
Yeah, I kind of jab at Joe and Jamie, especially because Jamie's a Gator. And so I try to jab at those guys and say this is going to be a blowout. The Gators aren't any good, all that stuff. But look, the reality is, if you watch that game on Saturday night, the Florida LSU game, the Gators should have won that game 5 times over. Like, LSU's offense was so bad in that game, and give the Gator defense credit. The Gator defense has been actually pretty good, right? USF got their long touchdown on a broken play, right? Their two, corners like essentially crashed into one another, and guy gets a touchdown there. And then you look at this game, and again, it took a pick 6 really to put the distance between the Gators and LSU there. So if they played mistake-free football, they might win that game by 3 touchdowns, right? It's very possible. So, yeah, you are looking at a Gator team that I think is going to be very desperate. I think is probably realized at this point they can't keep making these same mistakes. But with that being said, it might be a culture problem with Florida. We know a little bit about those down here on the pro level, with those culture issues. A lot of stuff coming in, by the way. I want to get to some of this stuff. Ryan on the stream here, Donno, I don't know if you can see this one.
I
says
can.
Blaming Tua's so low IQ and not understand the problems at this point are laughable. I watched this show for a laugh. Well, thank you. I mean, as long as laughing is good medicine.
We're like Seinfeld.
Yeah, laughter's great, man. If you can laugh, then even better. And we try not to take this too seriously. But as far as blaming Tua, he's the highest paid player on the team. He's the quarterback, so he's going to get blamed when things don't go well. I don't understand why that is such a foreign concept to some people, but I do understand that Tua has his loyalists. Tua has his fans. Like, I got a guy on Twitter who will not give any ground to this one. I mean, Tua is the greatest. It's everything else that's a problem. It's the offensive line that's a problem. The receivers suck. Mike McDaniel sucks. Chris Greer, everyone sucks except for Tua. So I don't understand that school of thought. I don't know what the point of defending the guy is anymore at this point.
6 years. Say he's in his 6th year now. It's like,
and he's getting paid a lot of money, and he just came out yesterday or 2 days ago and said that he can't do half of what Josh Allen does. That's not exactly the thing that I want my franchise quarterback.
So we should be paying him half of what Josh Allen is making, I suppose.
And Ryan, we could have this talk all morning, my friend. He says the team has never been built properly. I'm with you 1,000%. I'm with you, man. But two things can be the same thing. Like, two things can be at the same time, right? Like, the team can be not built properly, and he can't be, and he is not the guy, in my opinion. Right? If there are still people out there like Ryan that think Tua is the guy, and this thing's just poorly built around him, I don't know what to tell you. I think that you can see his weaknesses even when things are going well. Like, you can see his weaknesses, can't you? Like, I don't know. That's just me at this point. But yes, are there weaknesses on this team? Absolutely. Absolutely. But he says he's not the guy because you don't understand the problems. I just told you what I think the problems are. I think, what other problems do you want to get to? Offensive line is not very good. The receivers haven't been the same in a few years. I think Mike McDaniel's play calling and overall design is a disaster. I think secondary is terrible. The defensive line, which is supposed to be the strength of your team, hasn't been very good. What else do you want?
Outside of that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
I mean, that's the entire team. What other units? They don't do anything well, man. What do you want from me? Like, but I don't think Tua is the guy either. So if you do for some reason, if he's your, I feel like these guys did message like there's a guy on Twitter. There's one guy, and then there's this guy Ryan. I don't know if they're cousins of Tua on burner accounts here. I don't know what this is exactly, but yeah, this guy says draft a broken Tua, then never focus on O-line for speedy receivers. Yeah, all right, fine. If that's the take we want to go with this morning, that the Dolphins haven't addressed the offensive line, which they've tried to, by the way, and most teams in the NFL have trouble addressing the offensive line, but that's whatever. Speaking of the offensive line, a guy who breaks down the offensive line for a living, Brian Baldinger. He was with us yesterday. Why don't we hear what Baldy has to say on this whole thing? So we'll hear from him coming up here. We got a lot of other stuff to get to. Again, Omar Kelly will join us in the 7 o'clock hour. Joe will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. We got Dolphins and Bills tonight. We got Canes and Gators on Saturday at a sold-out Hard Rock Stadium. Donno is with us here this morning, so we will certainly be breaking that game down today as well. Marco's driving the program. Jamie's with us as well. I'm Hollywood. We will take a pause. We'll hear from Brian Baldinger on this Dolphins-Bills game when we come back.
Baptist El South Florida, man. I can tell you kind of
And it is time to head out to the Toyota of Hollywood Hotline. Shop over 2,000 Toyotas on sale at one location. Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan. ToyotaofHollywood.com, where we are joined by Odyssey NFL insider Brian Balding, host of the Best Football Show podcast. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide for your insurance and financial needs. Nationwide is on your side.
All right, let's bring him in, and thank you, Woody. Brian Baldinger joins us this morning. Baldy, how you doing, man?
Yo, I'm doing good, buddy. It's good to hear your voice, man. Good to be with you.
Thank you. Well, I got a little surprise. It's got everybody fired up, and this is what happens when you're 0-2. Here's Tua from yesterday talking about Josh Allen. I want you to hear this.
Dude, he's top tier. If it's not with his arm, it's with his legs. That dude can do literally anything he wants. So definitely different skill set for me. I can't do half of what he does when it comes to running the ball and any of that. And then with how he can just chuck a ball down the field, with how far and the arm strength that he has, he's supreme when it comes to that. So it's going to be fun. Get to see him, get to play him again, and we'll see.
Baldy, he go a little too far on the compliment of Josh Allen a little bit, or?
Well, they have owned the division, and he
Yes,
is the
they
best
have.
player in the division. He is the reigning MVP. That's usually what MVPs do. What Tua is explaining right there. So, I mean, he doesn't really need to do that, but he's just being honest. Honestly, of what we all watch, week in and week out. Anybody watch what he did to the Jets last Sunday, you probably say the same thing.
So help me out with this 0-2. First of all, the right tackle and right guard are out already. So Keon Smith and Larry Borum are playing. Then the problem stopping the run on the other side. It's just been a little bit of everything so far, and a disappointing loss again last week to New England. What's your take overall on what you've seen from the team?
Well, Joe, I mean, the Dolphins, they run 3 plays, and they're down 12-0. New England went right down the field. I mean, they can't execute any better. They made it look pretty easy. You got a rookie left tackle, rookie left guard. It didn't make any difference against all those guys they pay a whole lot of money to. You'd think, whether it's, Chubb or Sealer or, all the guys that, been around, they didn't affect Drake May at all. So that was disappointing. But they did get back into the game. They did take the lead. I mean, that's a credit, but I mean, were they really ready to play, against the Patriots? I mean, that's kind of what you have to ask yourself. But, the holding, the penalties on the offensive line on Brewer, they're the team right now that's having a hard time getting out of a hole. And so, that didn't help them at all. And I thought, the touchdown to Matt Collins, can they make it any easier?
No.
Right now they're struggling so bad, in the passing game. Both weeks, Daniel Jones and Drake May, they look like Daniel, they look like Marino out there right now.
Well, we've seen it up close, and I don't know which side of the ball has struggled the most to this point. But you're right. There's a lot of bad numbers. So, moving on here a little bit, Tom Brady. I am shocked by this, and I happen to be a huge Tom Brady fan. 5% owner of the Raiders, sits in the coach's box, didn't hide it, watching the Chargers involved. I guess they say now he's involved with the offensive coordinator. Talks to him a lot, is really involved, and he's doing games for Fox. And I just don't see how the NFL doesn't think this is just a small conflict. What's your take?
It's a conflict. It's not helping Geno Smith. He played the worst game he's ever played in his life.
Right.
So it didn't help. I've seen Tom the last 2 weeks. I saw him in Washington. I was doing the game, Washington Giants. I saw him last week, Philly and Kansas City. I was doing a game on radio. He stands at midfield for 2 hours before the game, and everybody comes to talk to him.
Right.
Whether it's the general managers, Adam Peters or Howie Roseman, the players come up and talk to him. Coaches come and talk to him. So you can say, well, he's not allowed to be in production. I mean, he's getting information down there in the field. I'm sure in the conversation he's having with these guys, like he's seen everything. But, the fact that he's not in production meetings doesn't really mean that. He's getting the information he needs. But I do think it's a conflict if you are around Chip Kelly and talking about draft and talking about that. And, he's got all this information he's getting. I mean, it should in the long run probably help the Raiders, but I don't know how much it really does.
So the funny part is, and I get that the league wants him. I want him too. He might be the greatest player of all time, the greatest quarterback. You can't even argue with that. And so I understand the league. It's good to have Tom Brady around. Tom Brady is good for the National Football League.
He's good for business.
Yes, he is. So I do understand that part. All right. Best team right now in the AFC and NFC. For me, it's Green Bay and Buffalo. What about for you?
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with how they have played. I mean, for Buffalo's comeback against Baltimore like that, down 40-25 in the fourth quarter, and they didn't blink. They came back and beat what might be as good a team as there is offensively, at least in this league. And is what Green Bay has done, in a 4-day period of time. I mean, to take Detroit apart the way that they did, to see the Micah Parsons, injection into that defense, which was already good. Now they look great. It's hard to argue with those two teams. There's 7 undefeated teams, Joe. Is there 7? Yeah, 7 undefeated teams, I think. I wouldn't argue with either one of those teams right now.
Brian Baldinger here with us on QAM. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
All right, Baldy. So getting back to Buffalo for just a second, as you know, we're leaving today to go up there and for the Thursday night football game. It's funny. They got a really good team, obviously. I think the key to that offensive line is playing. It's same guys, by the way, every year. Yep. They don't get hurt. They line up with the same 5, with the same key backups, and they just come at you. And now I don't know if the run blocking looks better to you, but their numbers are way up this year. Is there any weakness on this team that you look at Buffalo and they don't have superstars, but they got a lot of really good players?
Well, they played really well together as a team. And, the offensive line, Deion Dawkins is their star player. Aaron Cromer's their offensive line coach the last 3 years. They do line up the same 5 guys somehow every week, the same 6th guy Amazing. That comes in. It's consistency. And they play with that, and they've all developed. Osiris Torrance was a rookie 3 years ago. He looks like a Pro Bowl guard right now. And there's a toughness to him. Like, it all starts up front. And, Josh Allen is kind of one of those guys. He walks onto the field with Deion Dawkins, at practice. So they played really well up front, for sure. Defensively, here's the key is that, they lost Ed Oliver last week. He didn't play. You didn't even notice, I mean, you lose Matt Milano, you don't even notice that he's not on the field. They play so well together defensively. They don't let the ball go over their heads. Buffalo's had Miami's number, obviously, since Josh Allen came into this league. Miami has never beaten them up there. So, I mean, I'm not saying that the epitaph is already being written right here, but, they got the work cut out for them this week against that team.
Yeah, I'm just worried down here, everybody's saying the right thing, but it's about, is Mike going to keep his job? And, and how's the confidence of the team? And, and what happened at the end of the game? You get 2 chances to score a touchdown. They get you're at the 40-yard line. You got 1:47 to go. We just saw Baker on Monday night take his team down and scored a touchdown. Right. Like, everybody, you're out there in practice. Everybody runs that 2-minute drill every Friday. They rehearse it all year long. And to see them play like that, and that opportunity to go beat that team, like, that was probably the most disappointing thing to me about the whole day last Sunday, was that last drive where you got to, it looked awful. Yeah. It was just a horrible finish. Yeah, there was some bad penalties, and the coach and the quarterback looking at each other and can't figure out what the people, too many in the huddle, not enough, this play, that play, delay a game. It was just, it was end up losing 10 yards on penalties when you got just about into the red zone there. Was just I don't know. I know they work on all these things and and then this goes back. Mike's practices are too easy and it's too much of a country club and you hear it every week and you're out there sometimes. A lot of the guys, it just gets so frustrating, the same stuff. And now you'll play the way the national media thought you were going to play. A lot of people predicted this was going to happen.
Well, look, the only way to quiet the noise is to go shock the world,
Right.
Thursday night.
Absolutely.
And go up there and beat Buffalo. That will take all of that, all the stuff that's building. And it was a lot louder, after this loss against New England than it was, against Indy. And it was bad after Indy. But they go out there and beat Buffalo, it all goes away. At least temporarily, it goes away. And then you start thinking about, well, if they can beat Buffalo, they can beat anybody, that kind of thing. So, that's what's out there in front of them. And I'm sure that's part of, Mike's speech to the team this week and in preparation. I mean, they've got talent in certain areas. They do have real talent. And Tua did play better last week. There is an awful lot of good players on the defensive line. It's about time they go out there and do something about it.
Yeah, you know what? And funny, this first time in a long time, I've talked about Achane, Waddle, and Tyreek Hill having good games together, making big plays. It's been a while. And, the speed that he has and Mike loves having and loves to use, and we got something out of him finally.
Well, I think it looks like the offense just goes through Achane. Like, obviously, Tyreek had a better game, and so did Waddle, and he found the end zone. That was all good. But, Achane is their star player. And so, I'm sure he's going to, relish the spotlight. He's a young kid that, still got the fresh legs and the speed. And so let's see what he can do against a Buffalo defense that I don't think their safeties are great, Joe. I don't think their corners are great. But the way that they play, and Joey Bosa was a real factor last week. So I'm sure he's going to see that, backup right tackle quite a bit. I mean, Joey still looks like he has what it takes to be a great player.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're bragging about him. Yeah, you're right. Hey, finally, before I let you go, Kansas City's 0-2. Is it too early to go, we got somebody new in the AFC that's going to take over?
Well, it's not too early, but it's I saw the game Sunday, and they don't have an explosive element to their team. And, to see Travis Kelce drop a bobble a ball to goal line to take the lead in the fourth quarter and have that ball intercepted, that turned the whole game around. They're not making the plays that we're used to see them making. And, they're really struggling to run the ball. They don't look like they've got any kind of elite running back right now. And so there's certainly some issues where you go, okay, maybe this is the year the Chargers take over or maybe Denver does. But you can see that sort of sentiment growing around the league right now.
Baldy, always great having you, man. Thank you so much. And hopefully I get to talk to you soon. And we're talking about Dolphins playing better football. So thank you, bud.
I hope so, Joe. I'll talk to you next week, buddy.
All right,
you
thanks. Brian Baldinger joining us this morning. Talk a little bit about the Miami Dolphins, a little bit about the NFL. Woody.
He's also the host of the Best Football Show podcast. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
All right, I'll tell you who else is on your side every day. Harvey Cohn and Gary Judah, the partners of Cohn and Judah Injury Law Firm, personal injury attorneys in Plantation, man. But, hey, I don't know why. They're in Plantation, but you need to see them. Please call. They'll come out and see you and get started. Hey, I just want to say this. If the name on the law firm that you might already be with right now is handling your case and you're not real happy, if the name on the law firm is not actually handling your case and you're not happy about it, because I'm going to promise you one thing, Gary and Harvey are going to handle it with their 30 years each of experience. You're going to get all of them. That's it, man. There's not going to be any handoffs to somebody right out of law school. Big enough to go to trial and get you multi-million-dollar results, small enough just to call you back, little things like communication and updates. They understand when you're in pain from a slip and fall, automobile accident, or anything else. You're hurting. You want to know you're a priority. And if you're not feeling like that commercial said you'd feel when that guy was talking to you, and now you find out he's not even going to handle your case, hell, he doesn't even know who you are. Maybe it's time for Harvey Cohn and Gary Judah. Good guys, man. I got to tell you, two of my favorite guys in the world. They really are. I tell everybody, go to CohnandJudah.com, read the reviews, partners who you can always get a hold of. Call 866-FAIR-FEE. That's 866-FAIR-FEE. And remember this, they don't pay other lawyers to do the work you hire them to do.
Hollywood, Donno, Marcos, Jamie along here with you. Joe will join us in the 8 o'clock hour here this morning as we get set for Dolphins and Bills on Thursday Night Football. We got our YouTube stream up here, and we have our chat going on the right side of the screen. We got the text line is going as well, and things have gotten a little vicious here this morning, guys. Things are getting a little vicious on the different platforms. First of all, I want to say good morning to Nene, who's on our YouTube chat here, and please try to keep the insults to a minimum, or at least hurl them at our direction, and not at the other texters on here or viewers on here, guys. And this guy who keeps saying this low IQ stuff, he's got a burner on Twitter too, who keeps saying the same stuff to me on there about all this Tua nonsense. So, look, guys, Donno, I don't think anyone is going into this game tonight hoping that the Dolphins just get smashed. As far as do I want them to tank? Do I want them to lose out? I don't think it matters whether I want them to or not. I think they're the worst team in football at the moment. And I don't know how or if that changes. But at the same time, I'm going to sit down tonight at 8:15 and I'm going to watch that game. And I don't have it in me to just sit there and hope that this thing goes off the rails. I can't watch a game with that mentality. I don't know. I don't have that in me. Now, with that being said, at some point, yes, you do have to look at this thing and rip the Band-Aid off and say, all right, this coach is not getting it done. This GM hasn't gotten it done. This whole thing is not working. Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can never watch a game, hoping to lose. I know people have done that before, when they wanted to tank for Tua, suck for luck. This has come up a few times in recent Dolphins history, but I always want the team to win. For as down as I am right now, I mean, the Indianapolis game was the Dolphins were not playing football. I don't know what sport they were playing, but they were not a football team that day. A little bit better against New England, but I'm not expecting anything good to happen tonight. But I'm with you. I'm going to turn my TV on 8:15 tonight. I'm going to stay up for the duration unless it's such a blowout. Maybe I'll go to bed at halftime, but I'm going to hope that our Miami Dolphins go out there and not prove us wrong, because we're not wrong about what we saw those first two games, but at least show us that they are capable of bouncing back and getting a big divisional win, or at least playing competitive.
That'd be the only consolation prize of a blowout tonight, right? Is if we get a little extra sleep. The only issue that then becomes is, Joe is going to come in straight off the plane tomorrow morning and do the show, right? And he's going to be in a bad mood regardless. If they get blown out in the first, couple quarters of this game, he'll probably be in an even worse mood when I see him on no sleep tomorrow morning. So we need to keep him in good spirits early in the season, if possible here. All right, we're going to get caught up here. Again, everyone that's following along here with us this morning, certainly happy to read your thoughts, as long as they are thoughts and not just someone telling you have no football knowledge or low football IQ or whatever, because this guy sees something into it that we don't see, which is fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's what makes the world go round here on our little sports shows. So we are happy to read those. This one says they saw Harold last night. That's nice. Harold, Donno, just that's Joe's middle name, and he's not a huge fan of it. So people will call him Company Man Harold. Yeah.
That's his middle name?
Yeah, it is. You didn't know that?
No.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Okay, well now you guys know you're learning along with the show here. But we do have Alex Donno with us, who is the host of the Locked On Canes podcast, which I was a guest on last week, by the way. I hope that went
good.
Okay.
You did really good.
We went off on our prediction, though. Unfortunately, Donno, we were way off on that one. Miami blew the doors off of South Florida. The Canes get the Gators on Saturday night. Boy, this thing is going to be a whole lot of fun, man. And we are going to talk about that one as well throughout the show, as we have Donno with us here this morning. So we will take a pause. The 7 o'clock hour, Omar Kelly is going to stop by with us. We'll talk some Dolphins with him. And yes, Ryan Mozzarella, I will ask Omar whatever question you want. Ryan over here, who is the number one Tua fan, I'll give you one question. Send it into the chat. I'll give you one question, whatever you want. We'll ask Omar for you. But Omar Kelly will join us in the 7 o'clock hour. We continue on here on QAM.
Sports lives here.
on your local ABC. I think that's like channel 18 now. I can't keep track of this. Either way, Saturday, you got the Gators who are coming into town to get stomped, hopefully, by your Miami Hurricanes. Game kicks off at 7:30, which means you can catch your coverage here 4 hours before. You got Hollywood and the Roundtable, of course. That is right here on 104.3 WQAM. Let's go ahead and get back to the Joe Rose Show.
This hour of the Joe Rose Show is brought to you by Baptist Health.
Good morning. Welcome back in here for the 7 o'clock hour on the Joe Rose Show. Hollywood, Alex Donno with us here this morning. Marco's driving the show. Jamie is with us. He's driving the video stream. And we got a football game tonight between the Dolphins and the Bills. We got a game Saturday night between the Canes and the Gators. A little more optimism towards the Saturday night game than tonight's game. And Donno, just looking at this here, the Bills on the money line, minus 900 for tonight's game. The Dolphins at plus 600 on the money line. It's an 11.5-point spread. Minus 900 is pretty high. The next biggest one, I think, is the this weekend are the Packers who play the Browns. That's an 8-point spread, and Green Bay is minus 450 on the money. They're making
you don't see a lot of minus 900s in the NFL. You see some of those in college football. NFL, not too many 11.5-point spreads or minus 900s.
No, that again implies that this is not going to go well for the Dolphins tonight. Oh, the number's down to 11.5, so take that as you will. The Hurricanes, by the way, are favored by 7.5 points. They are minus 325 on the money line. The Gators at plus 250 on the money line, and I do think it's tough, Donno, to come up with a spread for that Hurricanes game, right? Because you just don't know, like, how much will the Gators have self-destructed. They have hurt themselves. They have beat themselves, right? We talk about you never want to beat yourself. The Gators have been the poster child for beating yourself, and they did it against South Florida. They handed that game to the Bulls, who were hesitant to take it, but they eventually did, right? And then the game against LSU was just, I mean, that was one error after another. 5 interceptions, going to be tough to win games that way. Heck, they were still in it, which is like even more shocking. And someone had texted in earlier. They said, LSU's not very good either. And it's like, well, LSU, I think, is ranked third at the moment. Not that this AP poll thing is so stupid, Donno. I don't know if you know anyone that votes in this thing, but for Notre Dame to be ranked, and maybe this is a little bit of the homer talk, maybe, but for Notre Dame to be ranked in South Florida to be out of the thing, Notre Dame hasn't won a game, and they're still ranked in the AP poll. Like, they have not won a game. Can you explain that? You do this for a living here, Donno, all this college football stuff. Can you help me out with that one?
Well, where you're ranked preseason creates this certain privilege. And in the case of Notre Dame, first of all, Notre Dame tends to be one of those teams that gets positive national attention regardless. They were in their 2 losses, they were obviously super competitive in both. I mean, they made the Miami game close late, and Texas A&M, that was back and forth for the entire one. And so obviously, like, if Notre Dame if they'd started the season ranked like 20th or unranked, they would not be ranked at this point, but they were top 6 to start the season. So that's why they're still in there. But in terms of the AP, I mean, I'm with you. I don't know if you guys covered this a couple of weeks ago, but when that AP voter, the AP voter who went viral, she seemed to have no idea that USF had beaten Florida the night before she cast her vote, because she moved Florida up 2 spots and left USF unranked. So, I mean, I'm assuming out of the hundreds of people who vote on the AP, she's probably not the only one who clearly has no idea what's going on and no integrity with the way she casts her vote. So I'm guessing that's a thing. Like, I'm guessing there are other AP voters. Some of them, I'm sure, take it incredibly seriously. Others just, don't do the work and don't put any thought into their vote. So, for that poll to have as much importance as it does, I think is a travesty. And, like, I know that the one that ultimately actually counts at the end of the season is the CFP poll, but I think the AP poll has influence over the CFP committee. And if they're doing their job that poorly, I think that trickles down to a lot of other areas that have an effect on who's in the playoff at the end of the year. So I would love to see higher standards with that AP voting.
I miss the old BCS, man, where you just punch the numbers into a computer and it spits out who's, supposed to be where. Like, I don't like the idea of a committee because I think and look, nobody got screwed worse than Florida State a few years back, right? And that to me is the problem when you bring humans into the equation, right? Because they are going to have biases and they are going to say to themselves, who's best for business? And that's why, in my opinion, these teams like Notre Dame continue to get ranked and will continue to get moved. Notre Dame, if they win out, I assume will be in the playoff. And that's solely because they are a valuable commodity, right? They are, everybody watches Notre Dame. They're like, the Miami of the Midwest, right? Everyone has eyeballs of them on them, right? And people want to see them. So yes, they are going to do anything and everything they can to get a team like that in, whether they deserve it or not. It's a business. And it's like any other business, Donno, where they're about ratings and they're about making money. And Notre Dame does both of those things for them. So that's my opinion on it. I think it's business driven. And I think as long as you have people in a room together, there's going to be a lot of human bias and human error in these systems. But as far as the AP poll goes, and Donno, like, look, if I voted in this, I voted in the preseason ACC thing, which I think you did as well, right?
Yeah.
I lack integrity in that thing. I'm the first to admit that. Like, I put Miami number one. I put any player that was a Miami player. I voted.
You know what? You might be right about Miami, though. I mean, you did your whole. Apparently, you knew more than a lot of people knew.
But I've been doing this for years, though. Putting them at one.
Well, you finally,
Florida State.
Broken
how many
clock is right twice a day. Here you go.
There's 16 teams in the ACC, right? Am I right? 17. I put FSU at 17th. So again, I do lack a tad bit of integrity on those things. But anyway, that's the inside.
Well, I will say one thing about you didn't have the worst votes in the ACC preseason, because I mean, one of the other things we voted for, you and me and hundreds of other people, were the preseason all ACC team. And so I will say, like, the ACC media, you've just got this hive mentality. So do you remember what the ACC all preseason team looked like? They had 11 Clemson players on it. 11.
Right.
Half of the all ACC team were Clemson Tigers. And look at Clemson right now. I mean, how many players? I mean, maybe 2 guys they should have on that team, not 11. So, there's some awful ACC voters as well. Hopefully not too many of those people have AP bowls ballots, I should say.
Joe asked me a question yesterday, and I'm curious what you think. He asked me if Carson Beck has been better than I thought he was going to be. And I said, no. I said, this is kind of exactly what I expected. I expected that he would be very good. I didn't expect he would be, a lot of people thought this was going to be like some kind of massive drop off. I didn't agree with any of that stuff. And, I just looked at his body of work, and he wasn't playing like at, some pushover school in some low tier conference or something. He was playing at Georgia. So I thought he would step in here and he'd be exactly what he is. Now, I did see this yesterday. I saw that he's rocketing up the draft boards faster than any other quarterback in the country. I saw someone said that who handles his draft stuff for a living, and he is certainly in the Heisman conversation. Am I surprised? No. I mean, I look at what they did with Cam Ward last year, right? Cam Ward was not on anyone's draft radar when he came in, and he ends up being the first pick. And by the way, looks pretty good at the next level so far. He's made some plays on a team that's not very good.
And by the way, Cam Ward, I know, like you said, his team's not good. He's not thrown a single interception yet in 2 games, which is nice. But going to Carson Beck, I think you're right in that he's not. I expected him to be very good this year. So here's what, nothing he's doing has surprised me based on the way staff members at Miami were talking about him since he arrived, that he really very quickly caught on. He's shown a lot of leadership. The arm is obviously fine, which people had doubts about before training camp started. I think, I guess what has surprised me, a couple things. His receivers have been a little bit better than I expected so far. I had high hopes for Malachi Toney. I didn't think Malachi would catch on this quickly. He just turned 18, by the way, but started out 17 years old when the season began. He has exceeded my expectations. CJ Daniels has exceeded my expectations so far. And then the other thing that's a little surprising to me, and it shows you that what Carson Beck is doing is not easy, because a lot of the other quarterbacks out there who people had really high expectations for have not been performing well. So, and you mentioned Beck with the Heisman. I mean, it's early in the season. Carson Beck right now is actually the odds-on favorite after 3 games to win the Heisman Trophy at this point. And so what has surprised me is Cade Klubnik has seemingly regressed after a really good year last year. I mean, DJ Lagway has been pretty darn bad so far. That was someone near the top of the Heisman list. I mean, Arch Manning, I feel bad for that kid that they put that much hype, and you know, we've seen what reality is. This guy was getting booed against UTEP this past week. You know, Garrett Nussmeier has not been, you know, as good as people thought he would be. Lenora Sellers, pretty bad start to the year. So, I mean, and Beck is the guy a lot of people, not necessarily you and me, Hollywood, but a lot of people nationally did not expect Carson Beck to be as good as he is. But then a lot of these other quarterbacks that had all the preseason hype have not looked good at all. And it goes to show you what Beck is doing out there on a new team is not easy. He's taking advantage of his opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, look, Donno, I like to base my opinion on a guy. We get the opportunity, you as well, to go out and watch practice, right? So I like to base my opinion on that. I saw Cam Ward practice in the fall a year ago, right? And we were kind of blown away with how good he was. And he was doing stuff that, you know, we hadn't seen down here in a little while, right? I mean, he had the ability to roll out and extend plays and throw laser passes. He also had this ability to show he had still has incredible touch on the ball too. Like, he can float passes in there. He just had the ability to do everything. You're like watching this guy, you're like, wow, like this could be really good. And it's the same thing with Carson Beck, right? We went out and watched him practice and we go, well, you know, he's good. He's going to be good. I don't know what happened in the Arch Manning thing. I'm going to guess that a guy like Paul Feinbaum does not go out to practice and just relies on, you know, people feeding him information, which is irresponsible. And again, it has hurt the kid. Like, I do feel bad for Arch Manning because he's clearly not what these guys made him out to be. And you know, look, his hype, his expectations were probably unrealistic, regardless of how good he was going to be, right? I mean, they crowned him the next Tebow, all this stuff, and you know, first pick, and they were asking him if he was going to come back before the season even started. And it's like, from what I've seen, I wouldn't take a flyer on that guy and draft him. He doesn't even look the part.
Have you seen, you know, obviously Arch is making a ton of NIL money. He's on this commercial. It plays like during every game where he and his dad Cooper. Can't remember what the commercial is for, but like I'm watching a game earlier this week with my son, and then the commercial comes on with Arch and Cooper, and my 7-year-old says to me, "Isn't that the guy who got booed against UTEP?" That's what my kid said.
Yeah,
I just couldn't stop laughing.
Like 10 straight incompletions or something.
Yeah,
in that game. But you know, again, it's not. I don't think that the stuff with him is entirely fair. Heck, I don't think a lot of the stuff that people said about Carson Beck was fair. And I think you got a lot of people that make comments without meeting him, without knowing him.
Yeah,
that's just look at it. And I'm not going to get on people for that because that's the human bias, man. That's you know, exactly what we got going on with Tua right now. Everyone that's either defending him or ripping him or whatever. I'm guessing none of them have really met Tua or had spent any time with him. And in fairness, I don't think anyone down here, media, you know, anyone has spent any real time around Tua. He keeps to himself, as I think is very, very well documented, right? Like, he is his own guy. He goes home and he does game night, as he said. But we will find out tonight, man. Dolphins and Bills. I don't think this is going to go particularly well for the Dolphins. I don't have anything that leads me to believe that they are going to win this football game. The odds are heavily in the favor of the home team tonight on the road in Buffalo. So we shall see. But Omar Kelly is going to join us here in this 7 o'clock hour. Joe is going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour. So we will have Dolphins and Bills covered here wall to wall. And Donno, we will continue to get some thoughts on this Hurricanes game as well. You can text us 305-567-0560. Let us know what you think. By the way, we had a score prediction. Reza checked in with us this morning, said 38-7 Canes. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout. I'm not going to predict blowout just because I don't feel comfortable doing that. But I think the Hurricanes are the better football team. I think they're the more disciplined football team. I think they're the more talented football team. And, look, I also don't expect the Gators to turn the ball over 5 times. Right?
No, 7 maybe this time.
That's, will you say 7?
Yeah, 7 times maybe.
7 would be really nice. Hey man, anything that happens on Saturday, we can just rub in the face of Jamie on Monday. Because Jamie,
so sorry.
At this point, I got nothing to lose. They're already 1-2. They're already getting laughed at by all of college football. If the Gators come in there and shock the world, Monday's going to look a little bit differently.
Belt behind, Jamie.
Wow, Donno, wow.
Donno's ready to roll, man.
I got my props this week. Yeah, I found this.
Lagway's not throwing 5 interceptions this weekend. They know how to defend Carson Beck. My man Jack made a good point on the stream here, commenting that they played against him before. And last year when the Gators played against Carson Beck in Jacksonville, Gators, Georgia, Carson Beck did not look very good. He had a couple interceptions in the first half, and then Lagway got hurt, and then that kind of, the backup came in, and that was the end of it. But Lagway stays healthy for that game. A lot of people think it could have went in a different way. So we'll see how Carson Beck does this weekend against the Gators defense, but they've defended him well before.
I will tell you, Jamie looked me square in the eye and he told me the Gators are going to beat LSU.
If Lagway just manages that game,
when that line went down to 4.5, we took that thing pretty heavily because we did not. I just was like, Jamie he's too close to this. He's too close to this. He's just in Gator fantasy land. And I will tell you, man, that guy throws maybe 3 picks in that game. It's possible the Gators win. So
is he colorblind, Lagway? Like, serious question, because he throws it a triple coverage. It's like, did he think LSU was wearing Florida's jerseys? Like, I was really wondering that when I watched.
That LSU game was ugly for Lagway. That was the worst game I think he's played in his entire life. I think it's fair to say that. He just staring down his first read and just no matter what, that's my read. That's who I'm passing to, and it resulted in 5 interceptions.
So hopefully on Monday we'll be talking about Lagway playing his next worst game.
So he's Tyler Van Lagway is what he looks like, just staring down receivers. It's what they got there.
We're staring down a break here. We got to take a pause. Omar Kelly is going to join us as we continue on here in the 7 o'clock hour. Joe will join us from Buffalo as well. Both of those gentlemen are in Buffalo at the moment as well, because we do have a Thursday night football game to get to. Dolphins and Bills will continue on QAM after this.
We go to Michael Kotze at Choice Mortgage. Yeah, man.
back in here on WQAM. Hope everyone's having a great start to their Thursday night football tonight between the Dolphins and the Bills. Not sensing a ton of excitement from the Dolphin fans out there as we welcome you back in. Hollywood, Alex Donno along here with you. Marcos, my man Marcos driving the program. It's an honor to be working with Marcos here this morning. He's the funniest guy I know. At least at QAM, right, Marcos? You get that.
Look, if I'm the funniest guy, I feel bad for you. I really feel bad for you.
Outside of the comedians that I watch on TV, you're the funniest person I know in real life. All right, can we put it that way?
Yeah, that's I appreciate it.
You got it, buddy. You got it. Marcos here with us, Jamie with us as well. A lot of stuff going on here today. Obviously, we have the Dolphins and the Bills. We have the Canes and the Gators coming up this weekend on Saturday night as well. I also want to let you know here, how about this? We got champion boxer Mike Tyson. He's bringing his Return of the Mike show to Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood this December. Stories and more from Iron Mike. We got a chance for you to win tickets. Just text the word Hollywood to 20357. That is Hollywood to 20357. For more information, go to WQAM.com. This is a text contest. Message and data rates may apply. Don't text and drive. Tickets also available for purchase at casino.hardrock.com/Hollywood/events. So there you go. Chance to see Mike Tyson. Donno, you used to be big into the boxing and the MMA stuff. I don't know if you saw Mike Tyson, his like Broadway show a handful of years back. I love that thing. I was shocked when I watched it, how good that thing was.
Yeah, I never saw it. I heard amazing things about that one-man show, and it's so cool to me, like the career arc, like the life arc of Mike Tyson, because for a couple of decades, everyone was just scared of that dude. And then I think it was The Hangover, when he had the cameo in The Hangover, was when like people started to see the other side of Mike. And the guy has been living like, I've seen him on other like TV shows he's done. He had like a reality show where he had his like carrier pigeons and stuff. But I never got to see the Broadway show. Does he still ever tour with that? Is that what he's got at the Hard Rock?
That might be like what this is. So I'm kind of intrigued by this. The last show that he did was fantastic, so I wouldn't mind going to this one as well. But again, you can text Hollywood to 20357, get yourself registered for that one. Jack on the chat here, Marcos, I don't know if you see this one. He goes, funny how does Marcos amuse you? That's a nice little Goodfellas ref there. Yeah, you're a funny guy, Marcos. You're a funny guy, right? Isn't that how that goes in the movie there?
I make you laugh. I'm a funny guy. What kind of funny? Pesci, man. That was honestly one of my favorite movies.
Between that and Casino with Joe Pesci, those have got to be the two like all timers there, right? And then I'm a big fan of him in Home Alone as well. I got to tell you,
hey, slept on.
I don't know how this happened, by the way, and this is like completely off topic, and we'll get to Omar Kelly we'll in a second here. We'll get back to the Dolphin stuff. I was on Instagram yesterday, and I guess Instagram knows everything that I like, right? Because it's monitoring you 24/7.
They listen to you. I know they claim that they're not listening through your phone, but they absolutely are. Because I'll talk about something that I don't Google, and then I'll see an ad for that come up, and I just said it. I didn't type it.
Yeah, my wife and I will be like talking. We'll mention a place that we want to go to vacation, maybe. And all of a sudden, I'm on Instagram and I have 50 ads targeting me to go to the said vacation destination. But anyway, I was on it yesterday, and I don't know, maybe they know that I like Home Alone, and the kids love the movie too. And it's, getting close to the holiday season. It's it's kind of a holiday movie, right? And I got this ad that popped up from the Plaza Hotel, which of course is where he goes in Home Alone 2. And they have this like Home Alone experience, where they will bring you like a giant ice cream sundae that you do by yourself in your room. Like it's this whole like Home Alone experience. And the guy was like doing a review of it. And it's $400, by the way, for the ice cream thing to be brought to your rooms. It's $400. I don't know what a room at the Plaza is going for these days. I don't, it's just funny how these things, they end up targeting you on all these sites. It's all just a giant ad, right? To try to rope you into to buy the next thing. But they are good, man. They are good at targeting what you're looking for out there. All right, what we are looking for is some information on the Miami Dolphins. Omar Kelly is going to join us from Buffalo. By the way, Omar had a rough time getting into Buffalo last night, so he's going to be salty. He had more airline trouble. Omar got to the point last night where he was tagging the airline in his tweets. That is very frowned upon on this program, by the way. I want you to know we are not fans of publicly bashing companies here. So we'll talk to Omar when we come back, see how all that went when we roll on QAM.
Atlantic Men's Clinic, ED and low T is some serious stuff, man.
Raindrop, drop top, drop top, drop top, drop top, drop top. No, your bitch, she a that. No, your bitch, she a that. We came from nothing to something. Hey, I don't try nobody.
And it is time to head out to the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. Shop over 2,000 Toyotas on sale at one location, Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan, Toyota of Hollywood.com. We're heading up to Buffalo where we find Omar Kelly of the Miami Herald. Omar, good morning. I know your travel was not smooth up to Buffalo, but good meal here this morning.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I don't complain about coming to Buffalo. I do complain about coming to Buffalo, but that's just the norm. Not one of my favorite places to be. However, the weather is wonderful right now, and that's not something that I could say about Buffalo often.
Good. So we erased the narrative of the cold weather thing, at least here today. With they do play a good team in the Bills, Omar. They are heavy underdogs. What can you tell us as we get set for this one here tonight? What can you tell us injury-wise as far as who is in and who is out as we go into this Thursday night football game?
Yeah, I think we need to start with Benito Jones, who was a nose tackle. The reason I start with Benito Jones is because Benito is a very formidable, important defensive lineman who helps you kind of keep your 3-4 defense intact. So he didn't play last week on an oblique injury. We saw some rookies come in, pretty much struggle a little bit, and he's questionable for the game, but I expect him to play. Ife Melifonwu with a calf injury, he is out. That's something that surfaced last week. That's going to force Ashton Davis and Dante Trader Jr., a rookie, to step up and elevate their level of contribution. Aaron Brewer, who suffered a hip injury last week, he's definitely playing. That if you had lost him, that would mean you're down 3 of your starting 5 offensive linemen, which is never a good spot. Jalen Wright has cleared to play, so it looks like he'll be active for the game. Same thing with Ethan Bonner, who's been sidelined with a hamstring injury. He looks like he'll be active for the game. And Jalen Waddle has a shoulder injury. He's questionable for the game. I've watched Jalen do his stem treatment in the locker room. I think he's fine. I think he's going to be playing. So now, will he be 100%? Probably not. He probably won't be 100% for the entire season. But let's just hope that the shoulder heals.
Dolphins, Omar, 11.5-point underdogs in this game. Obviously, the vibes are not very positive in South Florida right now. But if you were going to draw up what a Dolphins upset victory would look like tonight, what has to happen for Miami to pull this off and get their season on track?
Very, very easy recipe for you. Be stout at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Offense and defensively. That means run the ball effectively, protect your quarterback. And defensively, that means stopping the run. And I don't necessarily know if I want to harass Josh Allen, but it would be nice to force him off his spots, rush him a little, get a couple of takedowns. Josh Allen's going to do what he's going to do. I mean, there's nothing you could do to stop him except break his nose, which they did last week.
That didn't stop him either, though. So
nope.
That didn't stop him either. To me, turnovers will be the key to the game. If you give Buffalo extra possessions, you're in trouble. And Miami probably needs some extra possessions in order to keep up the score. Obviously, they can't have a ton of penalties, can't have a ton of missed assignments and miscommunications. And I'd love to see Tyreek, go off again. Tyreek is the key to this offense being back to top 10 status. And even, I love the way Tua said, basically, Tyreek, I'm going to come to you, whether or not they got you covered, you make it right. And that really is how they won in 2022 and 2023. And I think you need to go back to it.
Omar Kelly here with us on QAM. Omar in Buffalo for Thursday Night Football here this evening. Omar, I got to just, I know what people are thinking, what people are talking about out there. Is it possible, if this goes very poorly, that there are changes made, and it's going to be a long week here for the Dolphins heading into that Monday night game? Is it possible there are changes made if this thing goes very poorly tonight?
I think that it definitely is possible. However, I don't expect it. Unless we're looking at a 40-point loss, and it's very clear and evident that the team has quit on them. I don't think we're going to be seeing the changes get made, because I don't know how changes make it better before it makes it worse. And this, even if it's an 0-3 start, the season is still not over. But you have to go into the home game against the Jets, a team you'll probably be favored to sort of evaluate where you are as a team compared to what your peers. The reality is, and I know Buffalo's in your division, they're not your peer. They're not your peer. They're really just your daddy. Josh Allen has been whooping up on you for years. Yes, you've beaten him a couple of times, twice to be in fact, but he's pretty much dominated the Dolphins his entire career. And I don't see anything stopping him from doing that right now, because the defense hasn't even found their flow yet. But if you have an embarrassing poor performance against the Jets the following week, the next week on Monday Night Football, then I think it's time to pull the plug. And make changes. But the biggest issue I have with making changes is people have this belief that Anthony Weaver is going to take over as a defensive coordinator. I mean, as the head coach, and his defense is struggling probably a little bit more than the offense right now. His defense is the one is the unit that's probably playing less under expectations. And has less justification. There are a couple of key injuries on offense that are impacting how they're performing. The defense doesn't have that same excuse. I mean, unless you count Ethan Bonner and Storm Duck as key injuries, and I don't, because the two guys that replaced them are more proven, more accomplished, and more talented cornerbacks. So we're sitting here and expecting to elevate a guy whose unit is part of the problem. And I'm like, how much sense does that make? Now, who's to say it couldn't be Stoodsville, who's already been an interim coach when he took over for Denver, or Bevel, who was an interim coach in Jacksonville, or you can give it to the tight end coach. I forgot what his name is, but more than likely, Steve Ross is going to name the guy who's got the brightest future, or the guy that can rally the troops and injects confidence into the team. And that would be Anthony Weaver. But the truth of the matter is, it's not going to fix or solve your problem. It's probably just going to make your team worse.
Well, that might be the idea at this point, Omar. But I got to ask you about this, because we still have people that are all on board with Tua, like 100% in. They think he's the guy. It's just the fact that they didn't put an offensive line around him. They got a bad coach in Mike McDaniel, who doesn't do him any favors, even though I think Mike McDaniel saved his entire career. But nevertheless, we still have people that are on this board, on this thing here, that like Tua is the guy. Yeah, I would argue, Omar, that Tua has shown, even with the offensive line struggles, he has shown that he lacks a lot of skills that are necessary to succeed in this league. And I think he even admitted as much, that he can't do half of what Josh Allen can do, and yet you paid him like Josh Allen. So where do you stand on Tua at the moment, Omar? Is it the fact that we just haven't we've done him so much of a disservice here that he can't succeed, or is he the guy and we just don't know?
We're having a rough patch of the season. If you want to argue that Tua is not good based on what you've seen in two games, then I guess we're going to ignore his entire career, which is fine. Tua has the Dolphins with Tua since 2020 have the 10th best record in the NFL. You could say whether good or bad. Since 2020, Dolphins have the 10th best record. With Tua as the starting quarterback since 2020, the Dolphins have the 6th best record in the NFL. Say whether it was Tua or whether it was the defense. The one thing that I've always found very disappointing about football fans is no matter what's going on, especially the simple ones, everything comes back to the quarterback. Everything is always the quarterback's fault because it's easy to talk about the quarterback because that's the aspect of the game everybody thinks they know and everybody thinks they understand. If I'm going to name Tua, I'm going to list Tua as the problem why the Dolphins are 0-2. He'd probably rank maybe 8th on that list. Now, is he play excellent right now? No, it's not. He
He's
can
the highest paid
single-handedly take.
right? I don't know if that matters to you. He's the highest paid player on the team. I don't know if that matters to you.
So, no, it doesn't, because most quarterbacks are the highest paid player unless they're on a rookie contract.
Most people would argue that quarterback is the most important position in all of professional sports.
Okay, so who's your replacement? What is your solution?
Everyone's got to handle him with such kid gloves. Like, oh, we can't blame him. It's not, it's not fair.
You can't blame him.
Paid $250 million to be the franchise quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. Like, why do we have to handle him with kid gloves all the time?
One, he's not going to get paid $250 million. Two, his contract is only real until 2026. So that means you've got one more year of real commitment. I only count guaranteed money in NFL contracts. And two, yes, what he makes puts a strain on the rest of the team, but it does not explain why the Dolphins are poorly built, because the Dolphins are poorly built and have been poorly built even before Tua got his contract. So that's not the reason why the Dolphins have a cheap roster or a bad roster or a disconjointed roster. Tua's not the reason why you didn't spend money on cornerback. Tua's not the reason why you decided to go young on defensive line. Tua's not the reason why you traded away Jonnu Smith. Tua's not the reason why you got rid of Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard, two players that, by the way, you're still paying for, and not a little bit, but probably $20 million this season on the tab. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of players. You understand what I'm saying? $20 million in dead cap is a lot of players.
I understand, and I understand that we got a game tonight, and hopefully. At the very least, Omar, you will enjoy yourself out there. It's your last time at that stadium in Buffalo. So I want to thank you for coming on with us here this morning, and enjoy the game tonight. We'll check in with you either tomorrow or early next week. All right, my friend?
All right, fellas.
All right, Omar Kelly from the Miami Herald. Joe Rose is going to join us as we kick off the 8 o'clock hour. We'll take a quick pause. More to come on QAM.
Hey, something else going on, man.
Marco's driving the program. Jamie is here with us as well as we roll on here. Seeing a lot of people hoping the Dolphins get their doors blown off tonight. Just to bottom out here, Donno. And we got Dolphins and Bills 8:15 tonight from Buffalo. I don't know, man. I think the Dolphins are right in the conversation for worst team in football, if not the worst team in football through 2 weeks. They were close to beating New England, but unfortunately, close doesn't count. Look, I'm with everyone. At a certain point, it just becomes, you want to get the first pick, right? And you think this coach is not getting the job done. This roster is just not built properly. You want to end up with that first pick, that quarterback, right? And I don't know who that's going to be when the draft rolls around, right? I don't think we have a consensus number one.
It might even be Carson Beck the way these things are going so far. Drew Aller, maybe not that he's been great. They haven't really played anybody Penn State so far, but it could be Carson.
It could be, right? I mean, he is rocketing up draft boards right now, so he's going to be in the mix. But look, it's tough to be, it's week 3, and you're going into this game tonight, and I don't think they have any chance to win this game, obviously. Vegas doesn't think they have any chance to win this game. They're massive underdogs in this one. Bills are minus 900 on the money line. That means you got to put up 900 to win 100. So it's a little bit pricey tonight if you want to take the Bills to win this game outright. So I don't have a ton of faith that the Dolphins are going to put it all together on a short week here. They seem to have a lot of issues against the Patriots. I think the Bills are 10 times the team that New England is. But with that being said, like it's tough to go into a game and just root for your team to just get smashed, especially in week 3. But look, Donno, if this one doesn't go well, and I'm with Omar on that timeline, if this one doesn't go well tonight and you got a long week to get ready for the Jets, and if you fall to 0-4, then it is probably time to say, all right, this isn't working. The players are not responding. I would go with an interim coach, and I would see what your draft pick Quinn Ewers has to offer you. That could go one of two ways, right? You either find out that he's the guy, and you kind of lucked into this thing, and he ends up being good, or you find out he's not so good, and you end up with the first pick. So those are kind of your two options, right? But like this, clearly what they are doing is not working right now. Clearly, Chris Greer has built a very flawed football team. And it's incredibly disappointing because you had a chance after last season to rip the Band-Aid off then. And you could add your whole offseason to start trading guys, making moves towards the future, and at least you'd have some hope. Now it's like there's no direction, there's no hope, there's nothing except another year of agony, right? So that to me is like the biggest issue is we're in week 3. And this thing feels like we're going to be waiting another 350 days to kick off the next season with some sort of glimmer of hope, right?
It's rough. And a question that I've seen people raise, and I do feel strongly that if things continue to go off the rails, you have to make an early season coaching change. Like even though, and Omar brought up like, hey, Anthony Weaver's unit, if he's the guy who becomes the interim coach, like does he deserve to be the interim head coach? The defense has been worse than the offense. But like for me, if somebody asked me what's the advantage of potentially firing Mike McDaniel early in the season, a couple things that I look at. Number one, if you have in fact decided, we're going to see how this game goes tonight, whether it's, bad or catastrophic. If you decide that McDaniel has lost the locker room and they're not playing for him, you can't keep him for the rest of the season. Like it's not fair to anybody. It's not fair to his play. It's not even fair to Mike to stick around as a lame duck coach for another, 14 games if he's lost the locker room. That's number one. And then number two is, okay, you're probably not going to permanently hire your next head coach in September or October, but I do think there is an advantage. If the current guy is not going to be the guy next year, you can start getting your ducks in a row for your next coaching search. It gives you an opportunity for however many games, 13, 14 games, to evaluate Anthony Weaver, to give him an opportunity. It also allows you, without tampering, to send out some feelers, maybe some coaches who are, on hiatus or whatever, or, at a certain point in late December, you can start talking to coordinators from other teams. So, I think there is an advantage to starting your coaching search. Now, I guess the only reservation that I would have is, are we completely sure that Chris Greer is going to be the one who's in charge of that next coaching search? Seems like he's got Teflon type job security there, so he'll probably be the GM for another 50 years. But I would strongly suggest considering other options at GM as well. I don't necessarily want him hiring the next head coach, but yeah, if it's clear, if McDaniel, and I'm not 100% sure this is the case, I'm like 90% sure this is the case. If McDaniel has kind of lost the plot here, then if things go sour tonight, I think there are plenty of reasons why you make that change soon.
I care more about the guy that's picking the players right now and making the personnel decisions. Chris Greer, I think, is you want to talk about like people that are in the front office or coaching staff or any of that. Chris Greer is the biggest problem, right? He assembled this roster, and this thing has just massive holes all over the place. That to me would be the biggest thing that I would want to change here. We got, again, a lot of stuff coming in here on our comment section. This guy says, I was the same fool to say start Skyler last year. Did I say start Skyler last year? He was terrible, by the way. God, was so bad. But I didn't have to say start Skyler. He started because Tua couldn't make it through, couldn't make it through healthy. So didn't really make a difference there. But as far as like what I'm saying with, start Quinn Ewers, I mean, again, at some point, if the season's a wash, if it's lost, what do you have to lose by seeing if the guy can play like that? That's my, my argument here this morning. But again, man, it's week 3. It's early on in this thing, but it just seems like this thing is heading in that direction, and the Bills can make it. Donno, the Bills can really rip the Dolphins' guts out tonight, right? They can really put it on them.
They should. I mean, if I'm a Bills fan and they don't win in dominant fashion, I'm like, well, what are we doing out there? Right? I mean, and I'm a Dolphin fan, so I don't want anyone to think that me or Hollywood, because I know you're in the same boat as me. Like we're not rooting for the Dolphins to lose. We would love to see the Dolphins win this game, and we're having completely different conversations tomorrow morning. It's hard for me to envision that. Like the Bills have every reason to blow the Dolphins out tonight.
Yeah, but like if we find out after week 4 they're 0-4 and you're going to be, and if you are going to be the worst team in football, then just embrace it. Just be the worst team. Don't end up with the 5th or 6th pick. Just be the worst team in football at that point, right? And yeah, see what you have. See what you have in some of these young guys. All right, we're going to talk to Joe Rose. What did someone say? 70-0? Is that what they predicted?
Yeah.
I don't know that 70-0 is realistic, but there is the potential for a blowout here this evening. So we will. Hey man, that's why they play the games, right? We're all going to watch regardless. We're all going to talk about it on Friday morning. But to answer the question, yes, Joe is going to join us next. He is in Buffalo. I assume he's had about 8 morning coffees by now. I'm sure he was up at 4 a.m. probably roaming the streets of Buffalo looking for whatever the coffee place is in Buffalo. Do they have Starbucks?
I have no idea. I've never been there.
I don't know if Starbucks has made it up that way yet.
Starbucks is in like Singapore, but they haven't made it up to Buffalo. Now that's real uncharted territory up there.
We'll check in with Joe when we come back here on QAM.
Hey, hurricane season. I see it's the old noodles are starting to fly around a little bit, man, and you never know.
Welcome back in here on WQAM. We are going to head back out here to the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. Shop over 2,000 Toyotas on sale at one location, Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan, toyotaofhollywood.com. We're going to welcome in Joe Rose live from Buffalo. I'm Hollywood. Donno is with us here this morning. Joe, good morning. Welcome aboard here. And how are things in Buffalo so far?
Well, well, first of all, the weather's great, and it was a beautiful night last night. Fantastic dinner with my guys. It was, it always is a nice start to whatever's going to happen. It's a nice start. But I got to tell you, man, coming in with that song, you reminded me of 1980, my rookie year, polyester brown pants, the buttons down cut because I was in pretty good shape and I was lifting a lot of weights. I had it down. I was walking down the street. And I felt like John Travolta on that Bee Gees song. I felt a little bit like him, you know. Problem is, none of the ladies felt that way at the time, but it was in my own mind.
Well, Marcos is
anyway,
the show this morning. Thank Marcos for the music.
Sorry.
No, Marcos is was playing that for you there, Joe. So thank him for that. No, we got a game to play tonight, man, and you can imagine, Joe. There's been a lot of what do we want to call it? Mixed opinions on how this thing will go and should go tonight. Joe, you flew up with the team, so if you can kind of peel back the curtain just a little bit, what is the mindset? How are these guys treating this? Are we ready to go? Were we moping? What was it like flying up to Buffalo with this group of guys?
So it's funny because not only on the plane, but in the hotel last night, and this is a trip with we have the whole hotel. It's a smaller hotel. We're outside of town, and look, man, I sat down out there and a little mixture of everybody, and it's just their place, so everybody can walk freely. It's not your normal hotel where you're mixing it up with guests outside of football. And I was curious about that myself. I was just kind of looking, and I got to tell you, man, it's all business. It was all business, and guys wasn't a lot of talking. There wasn't hello when somebody walked by you, so it was good. I mean, that's what you should be. This is what you should be. They see and hear. Listen, Woody, you and I talk about this all the time. They see and hear everything, and they're also more than anybody else aware of what just happened in those first two games. They know they should have won the first game. They know they should have never been that bad in the second game. They know they should have never been that bad in the first game. So they got to lay it out. They know what everybody thinks is going to happen tonight. I mean, we're sitting here. They know the spread of the game. I mean, it's in their face. Every time you turn around, they see that number 12.5, 11.5, 12.5 number. So it's just short week. This is real simple for me, and I'm guilty of this too, Woody. So I always want to change the plan. We need to do this more. We need to do that. Listen, the reality of this is we got a track meet of a team. Our team's built on speed. Whether you like it or not, we got to run, and I'm guilty. We got to run between the tackles and pound everybody. We play like they do us. And then I go, you know what? We got two of the fastest players in football. Arguably, they would finish 1 and 2 if we were to get them in track shape because of their times, Tyreek Hill and Achane. And the third guy is Waddle, who's just behind them. This team is built on explosive plays, and it hasn't changed. I know we say it's changed from year one when Mike had them and we were putting up stupid numbers, but that's how you're still built. And we got a tease of it last week, enough to win the game. You didn't win the game, but you had those three guys. But we need more out of it, and it's got to be about those three guys. It just does. And look, you get a little Malik Washington in there like he did, is great. But it's about the big three, and Tua's got to get the big three the ball. And Mike's got to find plays to create to get those three guys the ball.
Well, Joe, and I agree with you on the offense and what the identity should be tonight, but I have my concerns about that Dolphins defense as well. How do you see them matching up against Josh Allen and company tonight? What are your biggest concerns?
Well, the biggest concern is this is one of the 3 or 4 best offensive lines. You could put them at 1 and you wouldn't be wrong. I think right now they rank as the top pass protection offensive line, but they're also number 2 running the ball right now. By the way, they line up the same 5 guys every year. Now, they had to play with the 6th guy. I guess one guy got hurt one game last year, so they had to play with the 6th guy. They line up the same 7 or 8 guys, and you know they use an extra offensive lineman a lot as 6 offensive linemen. They do it as much as anybody in football on short yardage situations, but they got 7 guys in there. Same guy's going to line up, and that's kind of that's where the team starts, behind one of the best quarterbacks in football. So that is a big concern, and I'm dying to see the adjustments so they can't run the way they ran. And listen, the Dolphins had it thrown in their face when they watched that Jets game last week. They ran for 224 yards against the Jets. They just came out, and everybody thought Josh Allen barely had to throw the football last week. He just handed the ball, and he ran himself. Broke his nose. He ran so much. His face is swollen. But they pound the ball. That's their identity right now. They are going to try to pound the ball. It's perfect night here. It's great weather. It's the best weather I can ever remember up here. It's going to be in the 60s tonight and clear. And they got a bunch of receivers that he trusts. Not that they're going to run like our guys for a bunch of 60-yard plays, but they've got plays. They like to get 4 or 5 guys, and they treat them all equally, both tight ends. And they've got 4 wide receivers that they rotate in there that they trust in all of them. I know everybody calls them middle-class wide receivers, but consider the money and where it's been spent. They gave their 2 offensive tackles new contracts. Dawkins is considered to be one of the best left tackles in football. And, of course, you got to pay the big fella, number 17. He's always going to be one of the highest-paid guys.
So then, Joe, is the game plan defensively for the Dolphins? Do you sell out to stop the run and say let's let those middle class receivers beat us? Like, is that what the game plan is tonight? Because the fear would then be, is you're so shorthanded in the secondary, do you get carved up out there by Josh Allen? That would be, I guess, the concern, right? But you do have to stop the run. The Dolphins are never going to get the football in this game.
Your point is well taken. I should have finished that with. Donno just was talking about that, and it's a great point. So the problem, but you have to stop the run. We have found out the first 2 weeks, 2nd and 3s are not good for us when teams are running for 6 and 7 yards on first down. It has been the formula that we saw with the Colts and the Patriots. So you do, and I just think you got to challenge their receivers, and the thought has to be these guys don't catch a lot of deep balls. They just don't. I just think we got to come up and we got to play tight, and we got to get after them, because again, 2nd and 3 with the Buffalo Bills is I don't like your chances. I don't like your chances, and I'm talking about huge plays. If you get in a bunch of those tonight, and if we're talking about 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4, it's pick your poison for Josh Allen, who, by the way, also is going to take off, and he's going to be part of it running the football, because that's what he does, although he did break his nose. I don't know if that changes. All my guys said nothing changes for that guy. I think he's Larry Zonka. We're all laughing last night at dinner because he is a tough mofo. But, I think you got to come up and take your chances, And you're right. If you play off them and you play loose on this group, there's no reason to play loose. Come up and challenge them. If Josh Allen makes a great throw, and great, but you just can't let them pick you apart underneath like we've seen the first 2 weeks. Where last week the Patriots were very happy to have Stephon Diggs and those guys just run, and their tight ends run short routes. And again, 7 and 8 yards and line it up in short yardage situations. So that's a good point. Both you guys bring up a really good point and a concern for tonight, probably number 1.
Well, Joe, I think the only thing that changes for Josh Allen is he's going to wear like a shield or a visor or something on his helmet. I think that was the only change that they're going to make over there. But I want to go to the other side with Tua, and as you can imagine, we've had a lot of differing opinions on Tua this morning. Simply put, Joe, what do you need to see from him tonight that would be an improvement on what we've seen through the first 2 games of the season?
The offensive line is not going to change. You got same right guard and right tackle. Yeah, your left guard struggled. Your rookie struggled a little bit. Those problems, they're not going away. I'm guessing Mike's, because of that, Mike's going to, when they have time, they're going to have to try to throw it deep. I mean, that's just part of – it's a waste of money if you can't do that. And we did. Last week we had some chances, and we completed some passes, right? We did some things. Whether good passes or bad passes, you get the ball down the field, and I think that's part of the deal now is you get one-on-one situations. Tyreek, one thing about Tyreek Hill, besides he doesn't go up vertical, but his ability to come back and adjust to a football for a speed guy, if not the fastest guy, is pretty amazing. One of the amazing things nobody talks about, we saw it in the Kansas City Chiefs game. On the one touchdown they scored, he had to come back. Last week he had to come about 10 yards back to catch whatever that thing Tua threw down the field was. And so I just you can't change everything you're doing. I do think they're going to try to run the ball more than they have. They've actually, per carry has been really good. We don't get enough carries. And part of that is, fellas, we're down before you know it, double digit in both these games. I mean, right off the bat, we're down 2 touchdowns because Patriots, you go 3 and out. The Patriots, what do? They score in their first 2 drives and shoot up the first quarter before you know it. So I think Mike sees that, and he goes right back into, let's start throwing it. And so we'll see how his patience is, how close the game is, but I think he'd like to mix it up, but I think we got to run the ball more.
Well, Joe, hopefully we can figure out a recipe here tonight, and I guess we'll leave you on this one. If you had to pick a few things, and outside of the Bills turning the ball over 9 times, like what can the Dolphins do in this game tonight to at least keep this thing close? It's an 11.5-point spread. The Dolphins are massive underdogs on the money line.
Yeah.
What can they do to keep this game close? What are some of the keys here this evening?
Our success in past years where we've been close, they kicked the last-second field goal in the playoff game a few years back. Skylar Thompson, starting quarterback, last drive, got a chance. You look back at the history of that game, we had takeaways. Our Dolphin defense has 0 takeaways, as in no fumble recoveries and no interceptions. It's got to start. We got to get some takeaways. We don't have any. We got to play clean football. We can't afford, with this offense that they have right now, you can't give Josh Allen a 30-yard field to score on. I mean, they're the number 1 offense for a reason, and you got to make them earn it. I think field position, these are boring things to hear about, but these are fundamental things that have been around since the start of this game. I just think we got to win a couple of those to even have a chance. I mean, we need like 3 takeaways tonight, and you're going, Joe, you're talking about 3. Hell, they don't have 1 yet. You got to get after it. And by the way, you got to get off to a fast start. You got to take if we get this crowd into this game, it doesn't take much to get this Buffalo Bills crowd. It's different breed up here now. You're not going to see 5,000 Dolphin fans in this crowd tonight. So you can't. The slow starts, like you're flat or whatever, or what are we doing? The thing that's crazy, you're supposed to have your best plays to start. They're scripted out. You know what you like. They haven't adjusted yet. Kind of adjust as the game goes on. And these slow starts are just killing us. And so I just think that. By the way, the other thing is their 2 best defensive players are out. I don't know how much it's going to change, but Matt Milano and Ed Oliver have been really good football players. But to be honest, Ed Oliver didn't play last week, and Milano got hurt during the game. It didn't affect him. When you run the football, let's just start with that, because that leads into time of possession. Before you know it, you're talking 17, 18 minutes difference in a game. You're not winning if you go, wow, they just ran it down our throat, 15 plays, 7.5, 8-minute drive. You have a couple of those, and it's a kiss of death. So, hey, probably the number 1 key you guys hit me with, I was yapping about big plays, and you do have to score offensively off those, and that's where we spend our money. That's the reason I bring it up. You go where the money is, And don't go by me. It's what the Dolphins spend on their quarterback and those 2 wide receivers. And Achane, hell, Achane might be the best player in the offense right now. So those guys are obviously important. But if you can't stop that run and you let those guys run for close to 200 yards in this game, that number's got to be 100, low hundreds to keep you around and stay away from the big plays. But that's a good one to start with, fellas, is stop the run. And then we'll see. I'll take my chances on the passing game. But you got to stop that run. And we can't have Josh Allen keeping the ball and running 30 or 40 yards down the field and then sliding before anybody gets to him, you know. I don't want to see any of those tonight.
Joe, just curious, it's your last game at that stadium until the Bills move into the new stadium. Have you reconsidered going out into the parking lot tonight and jumping through a table?
No, you know what? My back has been so bad. I'm kidding. You know, it's embarrassing. You got all those young people working at those FM stations, and I like to get up in between and walk a little bit sometimes. And I'm like, I try to fake it, you know, sometimes just because everybody's so young and they're jumping around and stuff. Man, my back has been killing me. There is no chance, even if you gave me 8 beers, when I started feeling, you know, my legs start feeling a little lighter and stuff, I would not do that jump off the car onto one of those tables. But there will be tonight people doing that, especially if Thursday Night Football takes a camera out there, and I'm guessing they will find a couple of those guys that will chug a beer and then drop themselves on one of those tables. God only knows how they don't get hurt.
Well, Joe, get some rest today because you're coming in. I know tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be a more upbeat show than what the experts have this one looking like here this evening. So thank you for coming on. We'll see you in the morning.
Hey, man, great stuff. And thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
I've had
Joe.
enough coffee to be with you guys. All right, you take care.
All right, Joe Rose, kind enough to join us here this morning, live from Buffalo, man, and no, he won't be jumping through a table here this evening, which is probably for the best because his old bones are brittle, man. We can't have him coming in here hurt on a football Friday, but he'll jump off right off the plane and join us tomorrow morning. So certainly looking forward to that. All right, Donno, we got to take a pause here. Alex Donno is with us, so we got to talk a little Canes football here this morning. He's got all the Canes stuff right behind him in that beautiful studio that he's got. Is that a flux capacitor, by the way, over your shoulder?
It is. Yeah, I'm a huge Back to the Future fan.
Okay.
So I picked up a flux capacitor for like $5 last year, and I thought I got to find a way to incorporate it into my background. It actually works. I traveled back to 1973 to see the last time the Dolphins won a Super Bowl.
On that note, let's take a pause. And we'll come back. We will talk some Canes though with Donno and his flux capacitor as we continue on here on QAM.
Miami sports leader 105.
I know this little girl, her name is Maxine. Her beauty's like a bunch of roses. If I ever tell you about Maxine, you older say I don't know what I know.
Here on WQAM. It is Thursday. It is game day for the Miami Dolphins. Hollywood, Donno, Marcos driving the program. My man Marcos here with us. What an honor to have Marcos here this morning. He's one of my favorites. So thank you, Marcos, for being here with us this morning. Appreciate you, my friend. Good morning.
Too kind, man. Very, very happy to be here. Look, it's an important day. We are either going to get our first win of the season, or we are going to begin 0-3, and everyone is going to be calling for the head of Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer. So no better way to do but celebrate with the boys.
It's been a dicey one, man. It's been a dicey start to the season for the Dolphins. The Canes, on the other hand, it's been a good start. It's been all good in Coral Gables, and it'll be even better on Saturday, Donna, when game day comes to town, and you get all the kids will be out there, and they'll get riled up. At what did I see the call time was there? 5 a.m. or something for everyone. So
yeah, which is actually later than I thought, because I think I remember the last time game day came down here, it was 2017 before the Notre Dame game, and I can remember students were told to line up at like 4. So you get to sleep in this time around. You have to line up till 5, and they're also going to be not only is College Game Day going to be there, but the ACC network is also sending like their Bobo version of College Game Day out there. So I guess like if you can't get into the real College Game Day, the overflow traffic can go to the ACC network one, which is going to be, I think, near the library, like a different location on campus. So if you don't want to wake up at 4 to get in line at 5, you wait a couple extra hours, you go to the ACC network one.
Now, the college body can take this, but that's a lot of drinking, man. What is that, 15 hours until kickoff? So you got to pace yourself here, right? If you're one of these students, you got to pace yourself and make it to kickoff. That's the key here, right? It's a 7:30 kick at Hard Rock. We're going to start our countdown to kickoff at 3, and then Donno will pick it up from there with the post game. So hopefully another happy post game for Mr. Donno. And Alex, I've been saying this all week, saying this for a couple weeks now. I don't know that there is a team in college football that has looked better than the University of Miami has through the first couple of weeks of this season, 3 weeks now this season. They have impressive wins over Notre Dame. They dismantled South Florida, who, whatever you think of them, they had a couple of good wins prior to that game. They found themselves in the top 25 in that one. I just don't know that anyone has looked better than Miami. They play a disciplined brand of football with an elite coaching staff, right? They have a quarterback who's playing at a high level. Their defense has been completely revamped. The defense looks night and day from what we saw towards the end of last season, where they were just getting carved up. The offensive line is still elite, right? And they have some running backs that have really played well for them. The receivers have been a really, bright spot and a unit that we did not know how good they would be. They have been elite as well to start this season. So while we can go down the list of weaknesses that the Dolphins have, Donno, I have a tough time. Maybe, you do this, you do Lockdown Canes every single day. So maybe you could tell me what is a weakness that the Hurricanes have, because I'm struggling to find one here through 3 games.
There's only so much you can nitpick to this point. One question that I have, and we'll see, this may or may not get answered on Saturday, but Miami actually hasn't trailed at any point this season. At one point they were tied 24 with Notre Dame in the fourth quarter, but never trailed in that game or any other game. So, when that does come up, if you hit a little adversity, obviously that changes, the plays you're calling. It changes the way you approach things on the defensive side, because if you are playing from behind, maybe the opposing team is running the ball more. You're not able to let Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesdor pin their ears back. So it's just something we haven't seen yet. Like I'm not saying it wouldn't go well for Miami if they're playing from behind, but we haven't seen that at any point this year. One of the things statistically that stood out in a not so good way against USF were all the penalties, 9 penalties for 65 yards. Some of it was like, weird stuff. USF, they were doing that thing. They finally got called for a delay of game where their defensive front was, trying to trying to entice Miami to jump off. They did pick up a couple false starts. There were some sloppy things there penalty-wise for Miami. You want that to be a little cleaner. We've still only seen, Miami's DBs tested a certain number of times downfield. They've had a couple of busted coverages this year, and it's usually, Hollywood, it's happened when it looks like the quarterback is about to get sacked, and I think a DB kind of loses their concentration. When they flushed CJ Carr out of the pocket week 1, he made the great throw to the end zone for a touchdown. And at one point, Byron Brown was like about to get sacked, and he was able to hit Nimrod down the field on a play where Miami just let up a little bit. So you want to clean that up. I mean, to me, it's just a matter of staying consistent. And I had the opportunity yesterday to interview Jacoby Thomas on Locked On Canes, who's having a really good season so far, one of Miami's starting safeties. And he explained to me the approach. This is a rivalry game, right? To us, it's a rivalry, right? To me and Jamie, it's a rivalry game being on the Miami side and the Gators side. But to Miami's players, he says that they're approaching every single week just as a nameless, faceless opponent. They're not changing their preparation whatsoever because it's a rivalry game. I'm sure they'll say the same thing before Florida State in a couple of weeks. Every team that comes in and plays Miami, Jacoby told me, has the same goal. They're trying to knock Miami off. The Canes are focused on what they're doing. They're focused on attacking the opponent no matter who they are. And you need to stay level-headed like that. You can't let the emotions of the rivalry game come into play. And I hope all the players are able to shut that out, because if they start listening to people like me, they'll be reminded, hey, Miami's a top 5 team right now, and Carson Beck is on top of the Heisman odds, and Miami's one of the best teams in the country. But, Mario Cristobal, one of his mentors, Nick Saban, used to say, all that stuff is rat poison. You shut all that stuff out, and that's what the Hurricanes are trying to do heading into this week.
Well, it'll be a 7:30 kick from Hard Rock Stadium. Again, our pregame coverage will begin here at 3. I'll have Monroe with me. Monroe, the co-host on Countdown to Kickoff, and the whole crew, man. Don Bailey Jr. will be with us, and Josh Darrow, Tim Reynolds. So we'll have a lot of fun. And by the way, Donno, you made a big mistake last week. You came walking by, and we grabbed you in there and made you do some pregame. So hopefully you've learned your lesson. Now, if you haven't learned your lesson, we'd love to have you again this week. So if you do make your way down there, we would, of course, love to have you. All right, we got a football game tonight. Dolphins and Bills. We will continue to talk about that one. We'll get to some of your texts as well, 305-567-0560. And thank you to everyone who is on the chat here on our YouTube stream as well. So if you'd like to join us on there, you can see us, and hopefully the Dolphins will maybe make it entertaining for a little bit tonight. I mean, that's, I guess, all you can ask for, right? Maybe a little entertainment here from these Dolphins. Last game was actually pretty exciting. Against the Patriots, the opener was kind of a dud, but we shall see. And people not expecting much out of the Dolphins tonight, as the experts have this one pegged as a blowout. We'll continue to discuss when we come back. The 9 o'clock hours next on WQAM.
Man, I want to tell you about Cleveland.
a.m. Happy Thursday to everyone. Happy game day. It's Dolphins and Bills coming up tonight. Hollywood Donno along here with you. And let's jump in. Donnie, we'll do a little fantasy football here. Our fantasy football reports are brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka. Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. Distilled 6 times till it's just right. Tito's is known for great vodka, giving back and doing good for dogs. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Inc., Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly. And let's see if we can get your fantasy football team set up here responsibly as well, Donno, as we started off tonight. So make sure those lineups are set. And this may shock you. Who do you think ESPN's got as the top-rated quarterback this week?
It's got to be Tua Tagovailoa, right?
Yes, it is. Donno is correct. He wins a prize for that one. I got to tell you, I am looking at this, and they only go up to 25, Donno.
Yeah.
There he is. There he is. Tua's at 21.
Okay.
Josh Allen would be number 1 in a shocking turn of events. A unanimous. They only have like 8 people that pick these things. He is a unanimous number 1, followed by Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and Patrick Mahomes rounds out the top 5 there. Baker Mayfield, by the way, at 6. How about that?
Hold on. You know what would make this should make Dolphin fans feel a little bit better about ourselves. The Dolphins have the same record as the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean,
let's go, baby.
We're right there. We are right there.
Well said. Man. Well said. On the running back front, Christian McCaffrey gets the top spot. Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Devon Achane in the 4 spot there. Jonathan Taylor at 5. James Cook comes in at 7 for the Bills here this evening. So those are your running backs. And then at the wide receiver spot, CeeDee Lamb gets the top spot. Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, and Justin Jefferson round out your top 5. Tyreek Hill comes in at 21. Jalen Waddle at 33. So there you go. That's your fantasy football report for today. Get those lineups set. We have live action beginning at 8:15 here this evening as the Dolphins for the other gambling community. That's the fantasy football community. The other gambling community who may be opening up the Hard Rock Bet app tonight. 11.5 is your spread at this current moment. And Donno, the only bet tonight that seems to have any value is the Dolphins on the money line at a whopping plus 650.
I mean, it's got value if you just want to throw money away, I guess. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, if you do win, you win big. But I mean, I think this is the type of night where when I'm on the Hard Rock app, I'm probably going to be looking at the player props because I don't like, for as much as I think Buffalo is going to win 11.5, it's a big number in the NFL. So I don't know. It scares me away a little bit. The Dolphins money line, I mean, great if you win, throw a couple bucks at it, I guess. But I'm going to be looking at some individual players.
Line just moved to 12, by the way. Line's up to 12.
It did.
Now.
Wow.
It's going to move back and forth here.
Yeah.
My guess, as a gambling man, Donno, if I were a gambling man, my guess would be that this line is going to move up significantly. I would think this has got to get close to 2 touchdowns by kickoff. Right. There's going to be, I would think, a lot of money is going to come in on the Bills in this game. I just don't think there's a lot of people out there that have a whole bunch of faith that the Dolphins are going to keep this game close. Right. And even if they do keep it close, you got to think the Bills at the end of this one will find a way to run this thing up, maybe a little backdoor cover type action here. But let's go around the room here. We do have Marcos and Jamie with us. Do you guys think the Dolphins have anything left in the tank here? Can they cover this 12-point spread? Or are you going on the money line here this evening, taking a little risk? Marcos, what do you got, buddy?
Look, you guys are looking at this the wrong way. You're looking at it with your brains and your football analysis. I'm going to look at this with my fandom and my heart and know that the most Miami Dolphins thing they can do tonight is make this a close victory. I'm sorry, a close loss in which it gives you just a slither of hope to make you feel like, oh, look, when we competed with Buffalo, maybe we could do something. and then we lose at the end, and therefore we're totally going to cover. We're going to give everyone a good sense of, hey, we didn't lose by that much, and then we're going to get embarrassed Monday Night Football the following week. So, yeah, I say this is going to be a 3-point game, believe it or not. Dolphins lose late.
3-point game. Wow. So you think something heartbreaking like a stepping out of bounds or something along those lines?
Oh, no.
Maybe another spitting incident, too.
Oh, no. So, all right, Jamie, what do you got here tonight? Can the Dolphins cover the number here?
As much as I love the Miami Dolphins, I just don't see them going up to Buffalo and keeping that thing close against Josh Allen and the Bills. After what they did to the Jets last week, after the comeback in week 1 against Baltimore, I mean, we're sitting here saying the Dolphins could be the worst team in football, and now they're going to go into Buffalo and beat the Bills. I just don't see it that way. So as much as I love the Fins, I think if I were to bet on this one, I'd take the Bills and the points.
Yeah, and I'm with you here. And here's the thing: like if you put your money on the Bills, and let's say the Dolphins win, then you're still happy, right? Yeah, you lost your money, but you're happy because your team won. So it's like the emotional
hedge.
The emotional hedge. So I don't think this is going to be like the Dolphins can come down to a field goal type thing. I mean, I don't see how the Dolphins are going to be able to keep this game close, and there's a lot of this guy's just good teams. Clint, good teams win, great teams cover. I love that. I love that there. But I just think this is going to be very difficult going up there. And, we talked to Omar earlier. We'll hear from Joe later on. If you missed Joe earlier, it is his show after all. So we'll check in with him again here to round this one out. But the start of this game will be very important, obviously, right? You have to get off to a good start if you're the Dolphins, because they are not the type of team that is built to come from behind. They're just not, right? And if the Bills are able to go up in this game early, they're just going to tee off on the Dolphins and Tua and make this a very, very difficult evening. And I can tell you one thing, man. They did it to the Jets last week. The Bills are not going to look to, to keep this thing. Like, they're not going to try to stay classy here and let the Dolphins hang. They are going to try to beat their brains in. And that's my concern with this spread, right? That if the Bills are just a better team flat out, that they are going to look to humiliate the Dolphins here this evening. So that kind of, concerns me a little bit, but I don't know. I just don't see how the Dolphins keep this close. With that being said, put the money on the Bills. If the Dolphins win, then, great. Then we're in good shape regardless here. But I don't know, man. I don't know that we're going to be coming in on Friday morning celebrating a Dolphins win over the Bills.
If I had to go one way on the spread, I would go Bills minus 11.5. But I think the opportunities I like most tonight, anytime touchdown scorer, and it has to be, you have to get in the end zone, not a passing touchdown. But Josh Allen at minus 230 seems like a lock. He's going to rush for a touchdown at some point. James Cook minus 225 seems like a lock. And I'd probably take a flyer for the Dolphins on Devon Achane at minus 105, because he's scored in both games so far. He's been the best player overall in the Dolphins offense. So I'm probably looking at those three for anytime touchdown scorers.
Samuel says it all depends on how much improvements DC Weaver has done this week. Yeah, if the defense looks the same as it did against the Patriots, we're in for a long night, my friends. Yeah. We're going to take a pause here. We got a lot more to come. Again, as I mentioned, we'll check in with Joe. We'll talk a little bit more. I want to get Donno's pick on this Canes game here, just in case he makes the smart move and does not walk by our pregame set on Saturday and get roped in again. I want to get his prediction for this one on Saturday. Hurricanes and Gators coming up on Saturday from Hard Rock Stadium. We are really excited for that one. We'll get Donno's prediction on that one when we come back here on WQAM.
Sports lives here. 104.3 FM.
Tricky to rock around. That's right, on time is tricky. I met this little girlie. Her hair was kind of
Welcome back in here on WQAM. Hollywood, Donno along here with you. It's game day for the Miami Dolphins and Bills tonight from Buffalo, 8:15. We gave our predictions on that one in the previous segment here. Donno, the host of the Locked on Canes and Locked on ACC podcasts, big fan of those. What do you got on Saturday night? Canes and Gators, 7:30 from Hard Rock Stadium. Of course, you can catch it right here on WQAM. How does that game play out? And what do you think? By the way, I just want to just preface this by saying all the predictions I've gotten have the Canes winning by like 50.
Yeah, and you notice, you and I had you on Locked on Canes before the USF game, and we were both pretty conservative with our picks. I had, Miami by 2 touchdowns. They blew that one out of the water. I was conservative. I had Miami by 3 against Notre Dame. They did win by 3. Probably should have won by more in that game. I am conservative no more on this one. Miami is showing me a level of dominance and really versatility at this point. It's a much more balanced team than they were last year. You have a quarterback who's playing great, but he doesn't have to put the whole offense and the whole team on his back, quite frankly, like Cam Ward did last year. And I've seen a Florida team where you talk about a lot of noise and distractions. I mean, everyone, they're trying to fire Billy Napier again. Their running backs coach gets suspended for a pregame altercation against LSU. They can't get out of their own way. Every Gator fans always give Miami fans a hard time about this after what happened last year. Anytime a Gator fan spouts off, Miami fans come back with 41-17. That's the comeback. The comeback this year, Hollywood, is going to be 42-16. That's my final score for Saturday.
Wow. So you think they just curb stomp these guys on Saturday? That is a big number. I was going to say closer to a 10-point victory. Again, I don't think the Gators will turn the ball over at the rate that they did against LSU. I mean, that you'd
hope not for their sake.
It seems unlikely that would happen. But I just think Miami's playing just far too well right now. I do think the Canes will win this game by a couple of touchdowns. I don't think they're gonna win by like 5 touchdowns like you think necessarily. Now, I would love to see that. I don't want to tell you I wouldn't love to see that. I can't stand the Gators, as you know, but I don't think it will be that crazy because I do think this has the rivalry game feel to it a little more so than that South Florida game did. So I think the Gators will give them their best shot here, playing for their coach, who probably is going to be out of a job sooner rather than later here. But I think you probably get a margin by maybe 14, maybe 13, something like that. And the Canes roll on to their bye week and then to Tallahassee for a big showdown with the Seminoles. But you know what? It is funny, Donno. At the end of the day, all it comes back to is you got to win the ACC. That at the end of the day is the goal, and that will get you to the playoff.
Can I say something about that for a second? Because I'm looking. So we all know Georgia Tech just beat Clemson over the weekend. The rest of Georgia Tech's schedule, ACC schedule, obviously they play Georgia, but that has nothing to do with their ACC standing. They've already slayed the Dragon of Clemson. They don't have Miami or Florida State on their schedule. Like Georgia Tech has an easy. They'll probably be favored in the rest of their ACC games. So as long as they don't screw that up, which they might, but Georgia Tech has a super easy road. Miami versus Florida State and Tallahassee in a couple weeks. Like the loser of that game, whoever it is, may be in a precarious spot just to make the ACC championship game, because then you're going to be needing Georgia Tech to slip up and obviously hoping Clemson doesn't have a renaissance. But I mean, that's just based on Georgia Tech's schedule. Miami versus Florida State is a massive game for the ACC.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, there's no one I'd rather beat in the ACC championship game than Georgia Tech. They've given us fits over the years. That would be really a nice little revenge game for Miami if they're able to take on Georgia Tech in that one. But that's far away from now. First things first, the Gators on Saturday. Before that, though, we have Dolphins and Bills. That is coming up tonight. Joe Rose joined us earlier. We're going to replay that for you when we come back here. Get Joe's thoughts on tonight's game and what the Dolphins can do to stay in this one, to keep it close. So we will check in, head up to Buffalo, have Joe with us next when we come back on WQAM.
Atlantic Men's Clinic, ED and low T. Serious stuff. I want to talk to all the fellas out there going through it right now.